And now, without any further ado, we're going to invite our first pair of speakers to come on stage to share with us on NextGen on-chain Infra, DTA for Web3 Finance. So may I please invite Mr. Kevin Loo, CEO of Hong Kong DigiFT. Let's welcome Kevin. And next, I would also like to invite Mr. Niki Ariyasinghe, Head of Business Development Asia Pacific and Middle East, Chainlink Labs. Let's welcome Niki. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to pass over the stage to Kevin and Niki. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I saw Mr. Professor Poon sort of leave. I couldn't have actually laid out a more better preemptive landscape of what RWA, encouraging both the innovation, the opportunity, as well as also some of the challenges and the risk. So first of all, just a firm welcome to everyone. Also thanks to our friends at Cyberport as well. Eric, Johnny, and others. And you guys have always been a stalwart of support for blockchain. So for those that don't know me, my name is Kevin Loo. I've been involved in the digital asset industry for around about 10 years, previously of PIMCO and Fidelity. And today we're really here to talk about the innovation that we're bringing through to the Cyberport pilot subsidy scheme. So we're grateful for that, on bringing this. And we're going to just maybe give a brief introduction. Niki, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, Niki Ariyasinghe. I lead Chainlink's business in APAC in the Middle East. For those of you who don't know Chainlink, we essentially do two things. One, we connect on-chain and off-chain systems. So data as well as other types of messaging systems and corporate systems. We think that's critical to taking digital assets forward. And the second piece is we enable the movement of digital assets between different blockchains, various L1s, L2s, once they've been issued as well, across both public and private blockchains. Pleasure to be here.
So with that, a bit of context, DigiFT, what we do is we're a licensed regulated entity, both by the Singapore MAS and most importantly here in Hong Kong for a type 1 and 4, focused on digital assets. So fundamentally, we are licensed, focused on RWA securities. Secondly, we're built on public permissioned blockchain, and that's why we're able to interact with the service such as Chainlink. The other components is we're non-custodial. We can accept stable coins as well globally. We're hoping also to see some of the HKMA's new regulation on the FRS stable coins come out hopefully next year. Now, fundamentally, and they send their apologies in advance, we're here to talk about very quickly the POC pilot scheme that we developed in conjunction with UBS, DigiFT, as well as also Chainlink. So we've got a presentation here quickly. So I have to put this up here. UBS, they send their apologies in advance. So I have to put it up here, disclaimer. This is not investment advice. We are in the regulated securities industry. So a lot of text up on screen, but fundamentally, what are we talking about here? We've developed, using Chainlink's digital transfer agent, a mechanism where our smart contract, as an on-chain distributor, we're able to connect to that and to subscribe and redeem through our smart contract. UBS, for their part, they are the issuer. They're the fund manager. They have their own smart contract to mint and burn their token. So we represent the investor, ultimately, to onboard them, to subscribe, redeem, and then UBS mints and burns. Now, I think maybe we'll come to a little bit where Niki can actually talk about their solution in depth. But fundamentally, why we came across this, because as Professor Poon said, you want transparency, you want efficiency, you want to be able to get a better user experience. And by having a smart contract to smart contract environment is where we believe the next institutional innovation is actually come. So this is not happening at a one big revolution. It's step by step, because we can move, obviously, with the regulators to be able to slowly innovate and progress. So we also want to be able to talk about the commercial viability of this. So who actually participated in this? Firstly, DigiFT as a project applicant to the pilot scheme as an on-chain distributor. UBS as the project sponsor. They're the on-chain issuer. And Chainlink as a project technology advisor for the DTA infrastructure. Now, I just want to mention here, whilst UBS and DigiFT, as for our respective parts, participated in this, right? We are the first. connecting to the DTA, we shouldn't be the only ones. This should be the next step of open Web3 finance, where any on-chain distributor should be able to connect, and any issuer, so it could be any other big asset manager that can mint and burn their tokens, can also connect to this. So we're taking some principles and philosophies from the crypto world, from the DeFi world, where if you have a wallet, if you have a smart contract, you should be able to connect to a venue that in an open platform, obviously subject to authorization, given that this is on-chain securities. So I'm just going to take one more slide before I hand it over to Niki. So we've spoken about a few things here, a lot of text, but the roles are very important in this orchestration. So the fund manager here is UBS, the distributor is us. Fundamentally, the important part here is what drives distribution of RWAs. Again, Professor Poon, I'll bring it back to him, is that tokenization does fundamentally not change the underlying characteristics, risk and return characteristics of the underlying security. Rather, you need to be able to build use case for it. You need to be able to find a way to, let's say, have a boring money market token be used and to create velocity in and around that. And as you create that velocity, you create a bit of complexity. That's when the fund administrator starts to have to really keep up, because blockchain is operating at light speed. The fund administrator, the transfer agents, they need to also be able to operate at the same level these transactions are effectively occurring. So with that, Niki, I'm going to hand over to you, sir, and you can take us through what the DTA actually is.
Thanks, Kevin. In terms of what's actually happening here between these interactions, there's actually really two core things that are happening. And I'll bring it all up, and then we can kind of talk through it. But if you see what's on the left-hand side, there are three processes that are outlined. One is about order placement. The second is about NAV, or net asset value updates. And the third is about on-chain fund operations. So what's happening with this interaction of bringing a digital transfer agent technical standard on-chain is that each of those three elements, which are currently off-chain, are now being changed quite significantly. So you can think about it as bringing it onto a blockchain, but more importantly, it's essentially at its core digitizing this particular process. So order placement right now, in some cases, can actually happen via faxes. So actual, very much archaic technology being used to place orders into some of these funds. So we're bringing that process on-chain. NAV is sometimes happening via email on a daily basis. We want to bring that on-chain and make that more rapidly updated as well, so you can have more efficient and more up-to-date financial data. And we're putting in place the foundation to enable much more efficient fund operations as well in these interactions of various systems. So all of these three components are being brought on-chain. And the second element that's quite important is, while they're coming from different components, different inputs, there's the digital transfer agent is orchestrating all of these processes as well in a highly efficient, highly automated way to enable these types of transactions to occur. So the way to think about it is, well, all of these processes are being brought on-chain, they're being automated and orchestrated, and we're enabling far more efficient processes as a result. So in terms of the process flow, just to give a quick 30-second snapshot, what's actually happening here. So one is a subscription a request is coming through via DigiFT as the distributor, and importantly representing the investor. At the same time, what's also happening is the NAV, the net asset value for the fund, is being set by the administrator. And importantly, we're bringing that on-chain, like I was highlighting earlier. Then there's an important step where the digital transfer agent is interacting with UBS's on-chain fund, which is also being managed via a smart contract. So you have this interaction where these data inputs are being placed, the order is being placed, and the interaction is occurring with UBS's fund, which is the UMint fund. And then the last piece of the puzzle, you see at the bottom there, is that there's an exchange happening. There's an exchange of payment, and there's an exchange of the token as well. The token representing that placement into the UMint fund, which then gets passed back to DigiFT and their wallet. So the way to kind of think about this kind of element is that, again, it's converting these types of highly inefficient or perhaps outdated processes into a far more efficient process that's becoming on-chain to improve speed, efficiency, and importantly, reliability. And importantly, as Kevin was saying, this is really the start. So we see more of these kinds of aspects improving the process overall, and importantly, we're very encouraging of other participants joining this effort as well.
So with that, I think we're just looking at the time here. We want to stay efficient. Niki, I just actually want to ask you just one question. Can you just outline more about how you built on public permission blockchain and how you've developed your service?
Yeah, I think everything that Chainlink does comes back to security and reliability. We've been in production for well over 5 years. And I think that's a really important part. When we speak to regulators, when we think about really important offerings like this and deploying it into financial infrastructure, we spend a lot of time and effort on security and reliability of infrastructure. So that's one aspect, it's an important underpinning. And then the second element is the way, in terms of the design principles of how this has been built, is it's really about giving organizations control. So while you're building on, say, permissionless networks or permission networks, you need to enable both the market participants as well as regulators to have transparent insight into what's actually happening.
Thank you, Niki. So with that, we're going to talk about the addressable markets and why we're actually doing this. This may have started as a subsidy pilot scheme, but why we fundamentally believe it actually has legs. So if you look across the APAC region, again, DigiFT is a licensed RWA recognized financial institution, both in Hong Kong and Singapore. Obviously, the fund management industry across APAC is sizable, right? So you can think about it from, yes, returns from an investor perspective, client experience, but we also have to think about cost and efficiency and transparency. So we believe that there is going to be a world where should we move into this new digital age, many of these AUMs, transactions fundamentally represented here, and as also, again, I'll reference Professor Poon, even if you think about the ETF industry, this has a big impact potentially on even that marginal administrative cost. It can really make a big difference in the long term. I'm not sure if there's any comment that Chainlink thinks about the long term. Okay. Now with that, as I mentioned, crypto is here to stay. UBS is obviously the biggest asset manager and private wealth manager globally. One would say that they are Switzerland. But they're not the only ones. BlackRock is entering, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Standard Chartered, as we know, SBI Holdings, also one of our major shareholders, and Citi, and others. As mentioned, though, we happily represent UBS in this case, and also Invesco, who we are able to tokenize and distribute their securities. So I think that Hong Kong can certainly embrace that it is at the forefront of this, and financial institutions should look to create, test, and pilot smart contracts and how they interact on the public permissioned blockchain. Thank you.